Happy 70th anniversary to the Nation of Fellowship.
Happy 70th!
So much love for our founder and our founding family forever.
The Lord used my dad as an instrument.
You know, Fellowship is a storied, legendary, iconic, historic place. It is that because Reverend Evans was the changer in chief.
A guy from Brownsville, Tennessee, who had problems trying to graduate high school. He's not quote unquote educated people, but God-fearing, God-loving. He started at a funeral home, then from the funeral home to Canaan Center, and then to State Street before being on Fellowship Square.
45th Place in Princeton Avenue is home for so many people. That's why so many people want to get back into the building, because that's home for folks. Folks found refuge and safety in that sanctuary, in those classrooms. So it's home.
Those early days, Daddy was just a man on fire, preaching, teaching, praying, being there for your members. That's how it started. That was early Fellowship.
Fellowship became what it was because Reverend Evans left the grain. He led the church to do things that nobody else was doing, to think about ministry in ways that nobody was thinking.
He sustained that leadership by being true to God, God having favor over his life, and Daddy being there for the members.
Fellowship is a reminder to me that when you trust God with all you have, that God always comes through, and sometimes will do more than you ever expected.
And so, you know, I think he had that foresight, that vision, and that innovation to understand that change is a necessity for growth.
Fellowship is an international church. You know, Reverend Evans' reach was international. Pastor Charles Jenkins' reach was international. While we are in the city of Chicago, I still see us impacting the world.
And so what I tried to do was to honor our history and legacy in embracing what made Fellowship great as it pertained to service, being engaged in the community, and being engaged in serving the city and across the country and around the world. When I introduced Fellowship Chicago, it was affectionate to make us, there were tons of fellowships, some bigger than Fellowship across the country. So how do we clearly brand who we are in this sea of new fellowships, black, white, and other colors? And there was some, oh my God, he's changing the name. No, we are Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church forever. That's on our papers, that's on everything. But, you know, I needed to introduce some other ideas, just like we don't call Apple Macintosh, Coke, Coca-Cola, and so many other. When people who know you and love you, they don't call you by your whole name. But there's an affectionate branding, marketing, a freshness, and a relational kind of connectivity.
When I was AP, associate pastor, Reverend Evans called me once, and I'll never forget, I was driving home from the office one day, and he said, I just want to call you and let you know that I'm proud that you're keeping the ship above the water and not taking it under the water. So in the days ahead, I really do pray that Fellowship stays above the water and doesn't go under the water. That's almost a challenge and a charge from our founder that he gave me, and I hold it near and dear to my heart.
My next question, as I interview you, Pastor Emeritus, discuss a leadership challenge you faced as pastor of Fellowship and what you did to overcome it.
I have so many. I can't count them all. You know, I remember when I closed the kitchen, I hit the legendary Fellowship kitchen. There were so many people that were mad at me. But those of you who know the stories, and if you don't, Miss Jenny, the greatest soul food cook of all times, she dropped a hot pot of grease and burned herself, and somebody else came in behind her, people didn't want to buy the rolls no more. They didn't want to buy the chicken anymore. We were losing $2,500 a week, $10,000 a month. I had to close the kitchen because people had stopped buying the food, stopped eating. But emotionally, people could not hear psychologically, practically, or mentally the reality of what was happening business-wise. You ain't buying the food, and so, but we were still ordering the same amount. Then we scaled down, we were losing. And so getting through the people's head to help them think practically. This is common sense. We losing, y'all ain't buying. And so my biggest leadership challenge, and so having conversations with people is how I overcame it. Trying to talk to people. And then sometimes you gotta wait it out.
The most difficult decision I've had to make as a leader of fellowship was definitely shutting down during the pandemic. That was not easy at all. I was nervous. I called Brother Lamont. I called Elder Vassar. I called Pastor Emeritus. I called at least 1 or 2 pastors in our city. I called 3 or 4 pastors in the country. And it really took courage to shut down. Most people were saying that if you shut down, you didn't have faith. And I argued that you needed more faith to shut down the building and move to completely virtual, because you didn't know if people would give. You didn't know if folks would support it. You didn't know if the church would be sustained. But what I did know is I had to put the health and the safety of the people before my fear of losing finances. And so once we shifted, it became the virtual shift.
Right.
And I came to that decision because I knew too often, Pastor Emeritus told me this when I was wrestling. He said, too often the church is the last institution in society to use wisdom. The NBA was shutting down. The NFL was rethinking things. Major corporations were rethinking things. And church folks were still fully convinced that we should remain in church because the blood of Jesus will cover us. And I was like, the blood can cover us, but God gave us a mind, God gave us wisdom, and God gave us sense. And so we put our mind, wisdom, faith, all of that together to make sure that the church would be responsible with that choice and in that season. And it was difficult, but look what God has done. Over almost 100 to 200 people have joined and connected with our church since March. We've been able to do ministry, give, sow back into the community, sow back into students and young people. So we haven't missed a beat, in my opinion.
No, we haven't.
In my humble opinion, that's that, and that is the grace of God.
There was a very strong family bond.
I was a kid coming in, like a kid. I'm still young, but I was a kid.
The fellowship is family.
Yes.
We moved to this new city and we didn't know anybody really.
Right.
I mean, we knew a few people, we knew a few preachers. So we moved up here by faith, and Pastor Jenkins is not just my predecessor, like he is family. The Evans family, like they're not just people.
They're family.
They're family.
Yeah.
And then the church as a whole, like the whole church. I don't look up in the choir stand. I don't look up in the balcony in the audience and just see a congregation. I see family.
Fellowship is seen today as a cutting edge model for so many places and ministries because of its ability to move with the times.
And so early fellowship, it grew. It's still continuing to grow, but it's growing on the shoulders of how Dad and the Lord, first off, set it up.
We respect the past
And expect the
and
future.
expect the future.
Where do you see fellowship in the future?
I see us building in the future. I see us having to expand our territory for more space for our youth and our children, more space for the work that goes on. We don't need a humongous sanctuary. I more so want us to build so that we can have more space to do ministry, reach the marginalized groups in our community, I see some land. I see some shovels digging in some dirt.
All right.
In the spirit, I see that, and I look forward to seeing fellowship stay around for a long, long time.